Well, welcome to the Go Tafe Golden Valley Football Show, and a big change to proceedings this evening. You're going to see we're going to be lucky enough, as we've been alluding to on Facebook throughout the course of the week. We're talking to the three Campbell boys in Des, the dad, Blake and Brad, who are fantastic players in this competition. We'll be also honouring the people that formed guards of honour in the tragic departure of Phil Walsh last Friday in shocking circumstances. But before we get into what the show in cases this week, welcoming Guy Moffat. How are you, mate?
Good, David. How are you?
Good, thank you. And John J.R. Ryan. How are you, my boy?
Very good, Foxy. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, well, no surprises during the week, really, with football. It's last weekend, of course, after we completed the show, there was a tragic occurrence in the departure of Phil Walsh in terrible, terrible circumstances. And through the efforts of Peter Mangles on the Saturday morning, he contacted the board of the Golden Valley Football League and then went on to contact every club in the competition. We'll show you a couple of shots here of the players, and it was honoured beautifully at every competitive ground. I think you're at the Swannies, Guy. I know the boys at Rochester, they got together, and I think the Maroopna and the whole lot. We've got a couple of photos that we'll show you just now, and it was a sombre moment in football, and enough's been said about it all week without us going into it. But the GB, well, you can be proud of yourself. Every club in it, you represented yourself really, really well. John?
Yes.
You've got a bit of a breaking story here down at Swaneeland.
Yes, I've got a breaking story. Hayden Best has been appointed coach for the next 2 years down at Swaneeland. It's hot off the press.
Are you allowed to break that at the moment or not?
Yes, I am. I asked Kevin Priest last Saturday. He said they'll have their meeting on Wednesday night or tonight, and then he will be appointed for the next 2 years.
Good on him.
Did you ask Kevin early in the day, John? Because I reckon in the latter part of the day, Kevin would have celebrated that win pretty well last week.
As he should do, because I still don't know how they won. We'll get them. No, we won't talk about that.
We won't.
Because I would have sacked a lot of the...
Hey.
Out, finished.
Let's have a look at what happened on the playing field last week. It was Mansfield by 70 points over United. That you can say confidently now that United will not play finals football in 2015. I'm guilty of overrating them, but not really. They're a great club, United, and when people say, oh, they thought they're going to be more powerful than what they are, they recruited minimally, and consequently, you know, it's they're having what would be a humbling year this year, but they'll be back next year. Don't concern yourself about that. Benalla, Johnny, your mob that you've caned all year, John. You've got nothing but got stuck into
them.
Their favourites. They got up over Tatura by 93 points.
David.
Yes, John.
Lukey was in the best again.
2 out of 2 ain't bad.
He's back, Lukey. He's back.
He's back in town.
Boy.
He's heading to the team. Lukey, you're at number 58. You've got a couple to go, mate.
They used to call him the Ivory Prince, and he became the Porcelain Prince when they were taking a few orders, but he's back in Ivory now.
He's a superstar.
He is, certainly is. Seymour, too good for Echuca by 10 points. Would have been a great game of footy down there. The Swannies and Ural saw the Swans, and I'm with you, John. How they won it, I don't know. Guy, I'll talk about that in a minute. Over 6 points. My man Antonovich, that you came from day one to now, probably was the match winner in it. Kai Abram, 21-point winners over Shepparton, a gallant Shepparton, I might say. Everything's going good down at Bearland, but Kai Abram, well, they turned it around from their display from the week before. And Rochester, in an arm wrestle, closest anybody's been to them for a while, fought off a gallant Maroopna by 12 points. It sees our ladder. Rochester on top with 44, Kai on 32, Benalla 28, the Swannies 28, Ural 26, Maroopna 24, in company with Seymour and Mansfield. All those three sides are on 24. Then United look shot now on 14, Echuca on 12, Shepparton on 8, and Tatura have yet to have a win. The goal kicking has become interesting, John.
Yes.
Because
Harry's had out a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Josh Mellington, he's gone to the front. Josh kicked a lazy 9 on the weekend to take his total to 54. Harry
2 weeks
Madden.
in a row, Foxy.
Yeah. Honestly, I did say that.
You picked it up. You said he'd kick 9 next week too.
Oh, well, he's got this week off, but the following week it could be spell trouble. Harry Madden had the week off, of course. He's on 48. Billy Burston kicked 6. Good to see Billy back amongst them, and Steve Strubant on 34. So that was that, Johnny.
I've got some Cheerios.
Okay, let's go.
First of all, to Doug and Nicky Miller. and Graham and Dee. They're travelling around Australia. They're up in Northern Territory at the moment, so I'd like to wish Graham and Dee and Nicky and Dougie all the very, very best. They'll be having a lovely time up.
Drive safe and we'll see you when you get home for the finals.
Good on them. And they're watching the show on their travels.
They're watching the show on their travels.
How good is that?
They're just watching the great.
Graham's a nice bloke, very quiet bloke, and he doesn't talk much, but his missus makes up for it.
And I've got some friends in, not friends in Perth, some cheerio from a couple of from Perth, James and Kylie Keane from Capel, Western Australia. It's Lenny Ingham's daughter and son-in-law.
And that's James.
That's James.
What's James's surname? James
Keane.
James Keane. Good on you, Keane.
On you, Jane.
Yeah, alrighty. So,
while I'm running off.
Yeah, go on. You are on fire.
Yeah. I'd like to congratulate Will Martinello, Timmy Luby, Stephen Struban and Grant Weeks in the last 26 for the country Victorian side.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see that Will Martinello, who I had number one in my top 50, is not in the top 50 MVPs.
Oh, Johnny. So there's a little bit of a fight back now.
He'll play.
Talking about pumping the tires.
Yeah.
Tim Luby, not in the top 50 in the MVP, had him number 8, probably be captain. So who is the judge here? Stephen Struban had him 21 on the top.
Grant Weeks, good on you, mate.
I will say no more. So who is right? I've seen it in the program last week.
No.
It was in all that rubbish in the program last week.
Well,
this one's
the
right.
coaches are the judges that MVP
Well,
award.
the coaches, you want to have a good look at yourselves.
Now,
Will Martinello's a star.
now can we just get back onto a more fair dinkum thing? Dean Smith, the young man from Mooroopna, is captain of the under-19 side, and well done, Dean.
Good effort,
We've
Dean.
enjoyed watching you play, and it's a fantastic achievement to make the side. It's a fantastic achievement to be even looked at any stage, but to lead our best 18 players out on the ground, that is a wonderful achievement, mate, and well done from all of us right here.
You got any Cheerios?
Yeah, I have. I've got to say good day to a special mate of ours now, Johnny. We recruited another one. Ando, they call him, down there at the land of the Swans. Matty Anderson, his name is. You'll see his picture right here. Matt's a mad Port Adelaide supporter. Loves Port Adelaide. He flies home every 3 to 4 or 5 weeks and gets home to watch his beloved Magpies. So he can't be all bad, young Matty, and he loves the Swans. And they tell me he's a very popular player amongst the Swans crew. He plays reserve football down there.
Seen him at the weekend, Foxy.
Yeah. And did he come up and say g'day? Where's Foxy?
He was playing, and I asked Kevin Priest who the young fellow was, and he was terrific.
Now, Morph, what happened this week in the mailbag?
Mailbag this week, boys, from Leah Smith of Benalla, I think she's from.
Hello, Leah.
And hi, Leah, and we're all looking over this way here at the moment. Can you please let JR know that Lockie Smith has not played due to injury since leaving the ground during the last quarter against United back on the 31st of May 2015?
Would you say he's entitled to be quiet, John?
Leah, go back on your medication, Dale.
Oh, Leah. I'll tell you what, I hope your husband's about 8'4" and can fight like fury.
No, she's off of medication. Leah, I'll come and see you.
No, you're spot on, Leah.
That is a good mark, because we love to find this bloke out.
No, Lockie's a great mate of ours here, and you're right to come to defence, and the surname says it all, Leah Smith. Okay. Guy Morford.
John.
We have to talk
David.
about it. We have to talk about it.
Right.
And we'll only be brief on it.
Right.
The Swans. Got to a stage there where you're about 7 goals up your row. Looked like the game was shot before half time. You stopped, rolled, and were done by 6 points. And I was with John at the time, couldn't believe it.
I don't think your role could either.
I was the only bloke who picked your row and the advisor too, and I thought, I'm home here.
Oh, look, I just think the game... Look, it was a good game of footy, and full credit to Swans for coming back in the fashion that they did, because I think at half-time everyone probably thought the game was over. But I just think, and I'll be brutally honest here, that's what happens when you don't man up. It's as simple as that, boys. There were players out on that side bottom, and Priest would have had the ball 40 times.
Squires.
Probably 40 times on their own in that last half. And if you're playing as a midfielder, it's, everyone can say, why didn't you tag him? Why didn't you do this? It's the responsibility comes down to the players out on the ground to put their hand up and say, we need to nullify this player and do something about it. These are senior Golden Valley footballers, and I know my words might sound a bit strong. I know Nathan would have addressed it. I know he addressed it after the game, and it's unacceptable. Simple as that.
Yeah. You should not lose a game from there. I disagree. It was a good game. I thought it was a game full of errors, David.
Ooh.
Turnovers I thought were terrible. I went there looking at two sides. One was third, one was fifth, and I expected a high standard of the game. And I thought the turnovers, congratulations to the Swans on their comeback. It was outstanding. But the turnovers from both sides, and we made the comment that the turnovers, you just couldn't believe two quality sides could have turnovers like that. But that's the second time now I've seen Euroa have a very, very good lead and surrender it. Now, are you fit enough? You're dying in the arse in the second half.
In the where? In the
bottom.
Yeah.
Oh look, I don't know. I don't know if it's a question if we're fit enough. What I do question is probably up here a little bit to players sometimes, and I think all coaches will go through this at some stage, and every week in their career about trying to get people up. But I just think there's a time in a game where you've got to realise as a player when the game's turning. And in this standard of footy, it can happen very quickly, as you both saw. So you have to be able to put your hand up and do something about it.
Well, what you said before is the main thing. If you're playing on a bloke and he's starting to cut your pieces, be accountable. Just be accountable. Shut him down, then try and do something yourself.
Okay, there are two things I'd like to highlight out of the game. Quade Johnson, he's canned you all year, Quade.
No, he's been...
You kicked a goal, mate, that had a fair bit to do with the end result. Magnificent break through the centre there, kicked it about 55, 70 by the time it was midnight on Saturday night. Beautiful goal.
Now listen,
just what your side needed.
Hang on a minute.
And my boy Caden, number 24.
5 goals.
Just like to mention your name anyway, because it gives me the opportunity to say, hi Daisy. But Kados, sensational 5, was very, very handy.
Now I just want to ask you something.
Go.
You've said I'm not Caden. Quade
You did,
Johnson.
no, you're not Caden.
No, Quade Johnson.
Johnson.
I'm going Quade. I'm going Quade now.
You're going Quade.
Now listen, Quade Johnson. Where did I have him in my top 50 if I knocked him?
Probably about 22 or...
No, go up.
I don't know.
He brings up this top 50 all the time. doesn't he?
About 16. He is a star.
Quade, it was a ripper goal, mate. Well done.
One thing I will say, boys, after the weekend is if Maribna came very close to Rochi, and what I'm about to... This just shows how tight the league is.
Well,
Maribna beat Rochi last week. Your goes to 6 and third in one game. So that just shows...
The next week's game, not this Saturday because we've got to buy it, but the week after... There's going to be some
it just shows how tight the league is.
Yeah.
So
it's that time of year when we've got to have our tax done. Go to this man right here.
SDP, Steve DePetter and Associates, prepare taxation returns for individuals, all business structures and major corporations. We provide electronic lodgement. You can even drop off your returns and pick up the next day. To find out more, visit www.stptax.com.
On my left, the great man Brad Campbell. To my right, his dad, Desi, and of course down the end, young Blake. How are you, boys?
Very good, thanks, Foxy.
Look, first off, I know how busy you are, all ears. It's going to be a difficult one tonight, but you've got big jobs in front of you, or you, not so much for you, Desi. And I guess with Des, I'll go to you first. Tongala, the club you love, you're spending a bit of time there now. I know you're particularly proud to go and watch your boys play or coach or do whatever role they perform now. How do you fit the whole 3 in?
I don't, Foxy. I've seen Shep once this year and I've seen Maribna once. So, yeah, too stressful. I'd rather go and watch Tommy where I can totally relax. I've got a side to barrack for, and I obviously look closely at the scores all day, see how Shep's going and or Maribna's going. I obviously hope they go very well, but just find it very frustrating. I'd rather stay away.
Is it like you've obviously coached and played in some quality times, and I know both of you boys, I think Blake, your side's probably, say, 2 seasons more advanced in playing seniority to what Brad's doing in terms of you're developing quite a young crew at the moment. Is that the frustration you're talking about, Des?
It's obviously I want the boys, their sides to go well, but it's just I think I've just got to the stage of my life, Foxy. There's got to be something else in my life rather than just following me boys, which I've loved doing right up until probably 12 months ago, but I sort of made a bit of a decision actually that I get a bit too stressed, I get a bit too fired up, and I'm better to stay away.
Fair enough, mate. I've seen you in action, and I can understand.
You'll notice, Foxy, if we're winning though, he's in the room.
Oh, yeah.
So that one game that he's got,
don't worry about that. In the pre-match when it gets fairly tight, who fields for his team?
I guarantee if we win, he's in the social room, so he's there somewhere.
There was a game last year, sorry Foxy.
You're all right, go for your life.
There was a game last year when I was watching, there was a semi-final at Tony. I thought, and Maribna were playing United at Deakin, and I intended to go to the Maribna United game. I sort of thought I'd watch the first quarter at Tony in the semi-final of the Murray League, and anyway, I goes to the car and turns the radio on, and United 8 goals up. I thought, I'm not going to Deakin Reserve now, so I stayed and watched the Murray League game, and lo and behold, I missed out on something special because the Cats got up and won. And
That's footy, though. Brad?
Yep.
Your boys, your emphasis has been on youth. First off, I congratulate you for the job you're doing. I think personally that you're probably probably 2 key position players away from running with any side in the competition. One boy I'm really a huge rap for. Physically, he's a giant, got a huge presence on a footy field, and I think he's got a lot to learn about playing football. That's the young kid, Metzner. Tell us a bit about him.
Yeah, Dion's a Cobram boy. He was in the Bush Rangers system the last year or so. He's a baby. He is big and quite strong, but doesn't really know how to use his strength at the moment. Like most big blokes, they take a little bit longer to develop, but he's probably shown in 2 or 3 games that what he's capable of, but in other games he's been pretty quiet. But he's a bit of a long-term prospect for us, and he'll take a little bit of time, just like a lot of the other young boys.
Some of your boys have shown wonderful loyalty to Shepparton, haven't they? When you talk about, you've got Reece O'Sullivan's a beauty, absolute beauty.
Yeah,
would get a game in most sides in the competition. Then you've got the kid Hiscock. I'm wrapped in him.
Yep.
You got the little bloke who plays in the centre who's been getting belted from
Nick Allen. Yep.
Look, just those boys could, I guess, as years go on, it'd be interesting to find out just how many times they've been approached. But they are Shepparton right through and through, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and I think that's one of the things that probably spurs you on a little bit as a coach, is to try and get those guys a little bit of success. I think coaching and playing against the likes of Nick and Reece and even Rowan, you don't feel for them, but you do. They do deserve a little bit of success, and I'd love to give those boys a bit of success over the next couple of years. Nick's been there through thick and thin, as has Reece, and they don't whinge or complain about anything. They just get on with the job, and quite often they're targeted, particularly Nick, a midfielder, and he gets targeted a lot by the opposition, with a run with roll, or gets battered up pretty badly, and but he just soldiers on, and you've got to admire those sort of guys who do that.
He's absolute gun. Blake, good news coming out of Maribna today is that the appointment of the young boy Dean Smith being the captain of the Victorian under-19 side. That's a fantastic achievement. Seen him play a few times. He sticks out like anything. There's another term I could use, but I better not. But he does stick out a bit on a footy field. I like the way he goes.
Yeah, he's a fantastic kid, and a real great reward for effort for him. He's probably played the last 2, maybe 3 seasons in the seniors, and he's only just this is his first year officially out of the under-18. So Smithy's probably underrated in terms of the competition, but within our club, he's the best tackler at the footy club. He leads our tackles every week, so he's a real underrated player from outside, but we know from within. He's got a lot of strengths, and his development is still to come. And we think he's hopefully going to be a real long-term player for us, and even a future captain of the footy club. We rate him that highly. He's a real tough kid. He lives on the farm, and he's been brought up tough, and he plays that way on the field.
I reckon you got 2 of the best bums on seats players in the competition that people will go to actually watch them play. One's a boy, McDonald. He's an absolute gun, and of course I rate Daniel Lewis very, very highly.
Yeah, look, they're fantastic. They've been great for our footy club. Louis been there now for 3 or 4 years, and he's been really loyal to us. Shane McDonald has come onto the scene this year, and they really complement each other. We probably as a group don't necessarily want to rely on them guys every week, because if they have quiet games, we want to make sure that there's other guys there that can take up the slack. But not only are they good footballers, they're quality people as well, and I think that's one of the most important things with any recruit to your club, that they're not only good footballers, but they're also real quality people. And Shane McDonald's game on the weekend, he kicked 5 goals, and we kicked 8 goals for the game. He was fantastic, and anyone that watched that game on the weekend would have been pretty excited by what they saw.
Desi, you've known him since how they go. And the contrast in temperaments of the 2 boys. I've seen Brad coach. I think he's altered his coaching style massively, and I've seen Blake, and Blake surprises me sometimes with his coaching. But I'll quantify that after you've spoken. As they were growing up, were there different personalities as such, or were they both very similar?
No, totally different as they are as coaches. Like Brad's very much up to date with all his coaching, and he lives for it, like as Blake does. But Blake actually reminds me of myself a little bit, maybe a little bit rougher around the edges, and calls a spade, and he can give a speech where they might raise the hair on a few people and stuff like that. So he sort of reminds me a bit of the old-time coach. Not that he's old-fashioned in all his ways. He's certainly up to date. And what he tried last Saturday against Rochester, I thought was an indication of how up to date he is with it, as far as he wants to improve the side. He knows the side's got weaknesses, but he was prepared to sort of try a different way, a style of game, to just see whether that would improve them as a side, and it nearly worked. Whereas Brad's very much A, B, C, D. This is our ball, this is our stoppages, this is where we position ourselves. Whereas Blake's different in that way. Where Blake, I really think Blake's more so sort of really about the heart and soul of the footy club and the passion that he brings to the side. I think they're a little bit different in that way. They both got their strengths, and I think they've both done a fantastic job, to be honest.
I think you're right. Brad, I know this your style of coaching. If someone said, what do you think of Brad's style of coaching? First off, I reckon anyone that can work with the junior plan that you've got is sensational. Young men today are different to your dad's era. They are different to my era. You've obviously adapted very well to the psychology that's involved in coaching younger fellas today. Do you work on that the whole time? Because if I know as a player on a football field, you knew you'd mucked up yourself, and yet sometimes you had to cop the greatest sprays of all time. You've altered that a little bit in coaching, do you think?
I think young people today quite tricky in the way they think. I don't think you're never all over how they think and behave. You just got to try and deal with them the best you can, but I think there's definitely a time to be firm with them and be hard with them, but there's also a time when they probably need a little bit of looking after as well. And so I think the key today is probably to be pretty adaptable. Obviously, be firm with what you think and what you believe in, and and what you think is going to make your team as good as what they possibly can be. And everyone's got to buy into that. But I think each individual is a little bit different. They all need to be dealt probably almost as individuals, but obviously want to try and get them to buy in collectively to what the team's about as well.
I've got to say the way you use Wellesley is very, very good. I reckon Wellesley saying, Wellesley sort of shoots from the hip and says a few things I know as a player or as a coach I once said myself. Do you think he's a great backup to you?
Oh, definitely. These days, as a coach, you really do rely on the people you got around you, and someone like Wellesley, who's got really good knowledge of the young guys at the club, and he's obviously worked with the young fellas at interleague level as well for quite a while. So, and he was the main thing he was really passionate and keen to get in and help out. So I think that's the key. You don't want to be twisting people's arm to get in and help you. You know how much time it takes to, around a footy club these days, and how much time you have to sacrifice. So, and he was prepared to do that, and he's really keen to improve and develop as a coach himself. And he's got a hell of a lot to offer our group, and also we've got some other good coaches as well, Matty Hanlon and Gerard Butts, and Darren Humphries and these sort of guys around the club, so and Steve Kerr and Timmy Kelly. So we think we've got a really good coaching group, but Wellesley's just a part of that and doing a great job.
Blake, I've watched you a couple of times, and you've just got this constant, people make the mistake of thinking Blake's always got the constant grin. Well, I'm telling you, don't meet him on the boundary line. You like to meet your players straight away on the boundary line, don't you, and explain to them exactly what it is.
Yeah, I do. I really enjoy that. I suppose boundary line side of coaching. I actually couldn't sit, up in a box. I'm probably pretty vocal. I feel at times you can be the 19th player from the boundary. Whether that looks good or bad at times, I'm not sure, but that's just the way I enjoy it.
I think it's great. Don't worry about that. I'm not knocking you for it at all. But.
Yeah, and I enjoy having that interaction with the players. And if we're bringing them off the ground, I want to make sure that they understand why and what we need to do to improve. But I feel so much more comfortable being on the bench there and being close. And as I said, I feel like at times you're the 19th player.
Body language is always a big indicator to me when a player's a man, or whether he is or whether he isn't. I've seen you serve it up to a few during thing, but when the siren's gone and it's all over, straight away the bond reunites straight away. Yeah,
and that's one thing that I'm big on, is having a really good relationship with the players, and that's my, I suppose, philosophy as a coach. I want to have a good relationship with them. I want them to feel comfortable with me. I want them to enjoy their footy. That's the biggest thing with me. We do have a lot of commitment, even at Golden Valley level. So I want to make sure they're having a good time, but they also respect the fact that it is a big business, Golden Valley footy, and we can't accept efforts on the field that aren't good enough at times. And you've got to have that, I suppose, that relationship with the players that you can have a go at them, but also after once the game's finished, you can shake hands and I suppose and move on and be friends off the field. And hopefully that works for Marupna and us going forward.
One of sometimes you need. I mean, we're all married, and some have been married one time, some have been married 100 times. But when you can, I never spoke to my missus about football whatsoever. Who do you turn to? Do you turn to each other to have a bit of a chin wag every now and then, or do you just let it go through to the keeper?
No, we still feed off each other a fair bit. Brad, being the older brother, probably doesn't ask me too much. It's more me probably coming to Brad, but you always need. We've got a really good relationship, obviously with Dad and with Brad as well. So it's important that we do feed off each other, and we both. I want Shep to have success, and obviously want Marupna to have success as well. So we definitely feed off each other with who we're playing that week, and we'd love to see both teams playing off in finals and playing against each other. We think that'd be great as well. But I'll probably try not to go home and talk too much about footy at home when we spend so much time on it. We watch videos, and we probably try and make sure that our home time is with our partners.
My wife used to always say to me, I could tell whether you won or lost by the way you open the door. How do you go home when you get home?
Yeah, a little bit like that. I think you probably do learn after a while that you've just got to leave it behind you, and your family time's your family time. I mean, we live and breathe footy, and no doubt in the back of our minds we're always thinking footy, even when we are at home sometimes with the family and the kids. But I think that's a bit of a key to getting that balance right, and you don't want to be sort of taking too much footy home, particularly if you've had a bad day. I think that's a good thing. It's a good balance to have your kids and your wife and enjoy the time you have with them as well.
What about the father-in-law, Big Ange? Does he have anything to say?
Oh, Angie loves his footy.
Most decorated reserves playing for Tatura, Angie Sarah. The only bloke drafted to league footy from Tatura seconds, Angie Sarah.
Angie loves his footy. He's a mad Tatura man, and he's done every job over there. President, I think he may have coached, and raffle ticket seller. Does whatever he can to help out the community and the footy club. So he's a terrific bloke to have involved over there.
You'd like to think you'd have a quid each way on a Saturday watching you blokes play tap, but there'd be no way knowing you realise that, of course.
Yeah, no, that's right. No, he's tapped through and through, and he's a mad tap man. He'll never change.
Now, Blake. Brad indicated who his backup support staff are. Who do you, in match conditions, who have you got working with you?
I've got Luke Madrick, one of my good mates. He's beside me on the bench. Also the twos coach, Peter Goggin, comes up as well and helps out. But I'll probably, another way a little bit different to probably most traditional setups in terms of support. I really wanted to scale it right back and probably rely a fair bit on the players' support. Make sure you guys like your Daniel Lewis's, your Trent Frears, Shane McDonald's, Ryan Thompson, who's been really good for us. Probably try and get them guys to really buy into what we're about as well. And I'm not necessarily not a fan of having 6 or 8 guys there that support me, but I just feel that I wanted to scale it right back and sort of be the main one in charge and only have a couple of other opinions instead of having 6 or 8 opinions. We've got stats guys and all that sort of stuff as well, which make that support staff fairly big. But in terms of coaching, it's definitely very, very narrow, very thin at Marupna. But that's how I've wanted to do it, and it just gives a lot more back to our captain Kane Atkinson to take responsibility as well. And I think that works best, for what I want to do.
He's got more ink than pink, Kane Atkinson. He goes right, doesn't he? He's a good fella.
It's a bit contagious at the footy club. Kane Boyer as well as getting most of his body tattooed, which is good. So.
Yep. Desi? Have you ever sat back one night over a beer or a bottle of wine or whatever that steam that you get into nowadays? I don't know what is your favourite drink, and you think how many miles I've travelled over the years to watch my boys play, and how many miles I've travelled over the years to play myself?
Yeah, I said before that probably the last 12 months I've tried to stay away a little bit, get a little bit of a life for myself, but but as far as the boys go, I reckon Blake 3 or 4 years ago would have been struggling to put too many words together as a coach, and maybe Brad a little bit himself, being fairly quiet, kid, has been brought up, but watching them take on the role as coach and seeing them develop as people and good people, and like I really reckon it's fantastic. I really recommend anyone out there that's interested in coaching, go and give it your best shot, because it just develops you so much as a person. And I'm very proud of the fact that I've seen these two boys really develop in the right way, like the leaders of their clubs, and I just think it's fantastic the way they go about it and the way they've developed as people.
I reckon, Brad, I reckon you see stiff things in footy. I really do. I mean, I follow Collingwood in the AFL, for example, and I've seen them I've seen them really stiff. It doesnn't matter, but gee, you were stiff at Maroubra the year you lost the flag. Does that haunt you, or is that past the past now? Because there was a few things that happened that day that were just so unfair. Not filth or anything like that, but it was just so unfair.
Yeah, I don't know about unfair. I think
mate,
whatever happened.
You lost 2 guns in the first 5 minutes, and you can't tell me that doesn't hurt. It must be thinking one of them in particular let it down, come off early, and one thing another.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean,
We actually went better when I came.
Luby got sent off as well for 15 minutes as well. So they had one guy down for that period of time as well. So it was a line ball game up until 3/4 time, but they got home in the end, and you can't do too much about it now, mate. We did. I mean, you probably do rack your brains for a good week or two about it, but you've just got to move on. I think we've all been involved in footy for quite a while, and hopefully over the next few years we can square the ledger somewhere, or we might get one back, or who knows.
I got to tell you, 2 weeks ago I interviewed Ken Sheldon, and Ken Sheldon was involved in the goal in the grand final that cost Collingwood and put him in the Tato handicap, and in 1979 I would have spat on him for a Dina, but I can tell you he's one of the nicest blokes I've met in football, Ken Sheldon, and just a terrific ambassador of the game. Blake, we'll wind it up this way. How far can the Cats go?
Oh, look, I think on our day we can compete with anyone.
I've got no doubt that. I'm glad you said that, because you can. What happens to you when you just sort of drop right off the ball?
Well, that's a big question for coaching that would love to know.
Yeah.
If I knew that would be competitive every week, and that's probably the hardest thing to get your head around as a coach, is that 1 week the guys are there and the next week they're not. We had Benalla flogged us a couple of weeks ago. We had 39 tackles, and we compete with Rochi the week after and have 70 tackles. So probably from a coaching point of view, trying to get them mentally get them in a good frame of mind is important. How you train them definitely shows how they play on the weekend, I believe. But yeah, I think we can compete with anyone on our day, and we've just got to make sure that we come every week switched on, because we can't afford to lose too many more on the long trip home. So that's the exciting thing about the group, and the Rochi game on the weekend again gives us all hope. But it's a week to week. We played Benalla a couple of weeks ago, and all of a sudden you think it's the end of the world. You play Rochi and you compete with them for 95% of the game, and all of a sudden you think, well, maybe.
It's a heartbreaking game, there's no doubt about it, but we'll all sign up and do it again next year, and we will. Look, I can tell you right now from where I sit, I would have given my right arm to have played football with any of these blokes. I certainly would have loved to have been coached by any of these blokes, and I'm including Des and the whole deal. I'm very close to the same age as Des. We're both just over 40 now. and you're talking real dynasties here in the Go TAFE Golden Valley Football League, and the Campbell name is synonymous with that. Des, you made the team of the century, I think, and you were captain. Were you captain? They must have been giving them away in those days. But anyway, it's great for you to all get together. I've really enjoyed it, and I know how busy you are with coaching the senior side in the GB, and I really appreciate it, fellas, and hope to see more of you as the finals progress. And to you, best of luck for the rest of the year.
Mate.
And
thanks, Boxy.
The mighty Tony boys, get Paulo kicking straight, and we're up and we're running. All right, mate? Okay, thanks very much, fellas. Well, thanks, boys, and there you go, the Campbells. What a legendary family they are in this competition. Wonderful blokes, John. You've been around them a lot longer than I have. You've been out on the ground against them. You know exactly what they're like.
Lot of history in that family.
I had the privilege of being assistant coach under Des when he was coaching the Golden Valley footy side. Des Campbell, make no mistakes, would quite easily be in the top 10 ever to play GVL football, boys. No doubt.
I think he's higher than that. Look.
All right, 5 then.
The format of the show changes right about now. We're going to hear it from one of the sponsors that looks after us here on the GB Footy Show, and then when we come back, Guy Moffat will take over and tell you all about the point system right here on the GV Footy Show.
Thinking about building or renovating? Consider Harper & Morford Residential and Commercial Builders first. Sustainable, innovative construction and design for over 16 years. Harper & Morford offer hassle-free, efficient, cost-effective building solutions. Drop into our showroom or visit us online.
Well, one of the biggest talking points around the league lately has been the topic of the player point system and salary cap. It's created great debate around club level and league level, and two of the most probably decorated people to speak to tonight about it is Oliver Caffrey from the Shed News Sports Journalist. Oliver, how are you, mate?
Yeah, thanks to everyone, Guy. Great to be here.
Good to have you, mate. John Ryan, I don't know whether you're probably one of those decorated people I speak of, but
I don't know about that.
How are you, mate?
Oh yeah, I'm very good, Guy. But I think it's a very interesting point that we've got to speak about tonight, or have our say about, because I think it's very important for the future of the Golden Valley Football League.
Absolutely. Oliver, just take us through what your thoughts are and how you perceive the point system to be, and just a little bit about what your take on it all is.
Yeah, a really hot issue around Victoria. It's a statewide thing trying to be implemented by AFL Victoria. So yeah, the whole state body wants to bring in this player point system and salary cap to try and even up some of those not so even competitions that might be struggling a bit. But you look at the GVFL, and one of the most even competitions across Victoria, and always has been. It's so even across the board. You look at this season, Kyabram sitting in second, go down to Mansfield in 8th. There's only 2 games separating those teams. So yeah, it's a really interesting issue, and we'll just have to see where it takes us. There's a trial period going on at the moment. Clubs are going into a bit of detail and just seeing what points their club will be worth and what they'll be tallying up. So yeah, the actual end report's going to be coming out next month. So yeah, as the clubs sort of work it out and AFL Victoria works it out, they just have to see where it's all heading. But yeah, it's a really hard one for the GVFL, because AFL Victoria wants to bring in statewide, and you sort of have to go with that. But yeah, you really would hate to see any changes in the GVFL, because we have such a great competition already. And you look at the last 10 years or so, like 7 different premiers in the last 10 years, 7 different grand finals in the last 4 years. So it just shows that competition evens up all the time. Tatura, they've won 4 premierships in the last 20 years. They're on the bottom of the ladder at the moment. And Shep, they've won the most premierships in league history, and they've been struggling for a while, but they'll be back up there again soon. They've been rebuilding. So yeah, it's...
John, I'll ask you your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the system?
My thoughts straight away are I'm totally against it. I just don't think the GVL need it whatsoever. The salary cap has been tried before and just doesn't work. They can say what they like, they can police it, they can do it like this. But everything just goes underground there. And the point system, as Oliver has just said, we don't have to even up. We're not talking about the rest of the country. We're talking about GVL, nothing else. And to me, GVL footy, we don't need it. All right, I'll throw this to you boys. Now, if it does come in, we've got, say, Benalla with 8,000 or 9,000 people. What points do they get allocated for a side against Euroa, say, who are 2,800 or 3,000 people? Now, you've got Tatura, Mansfield, Euroa and Rochester, very small towns that rely on getting imports. If you have a look at, say, well, I'm not picking on Benalla, I'm just using Benalla as an example. With 8,000 or 9,000 people, the number of players they have got to pick from is massive. Now, the point system, if that comes in, the point system into the smaller towns has to be massive above theirs to be equal. Now, if they get these point system wrong, they will stuff this league completely, I'm telling you, because they will separate the leagues, where the league at the moment is, as Oliver's just said, is perfect. The Tatura they're talking about hasn't won a game. 2012 they were premiers. Now, if they get these points wrong, the big cities and the big towns will dominate the league, and the small clubs will go backwards. So to me, we just don't need it in this league, and I hope the clubs vote against it. And I think the clubs have got to say, and I hope they have got to say that no, we don't need this in our league.
You're right, you make a good point, JR. I think we'll remember a lot of this comes back to the clubs themselves. I mean, we can talk about it and we can debate it all we like, but at the end of the day, it's going to come back to the clubs and the delegates themselves of what they think. They obviously need to do their homework, trial the system, have a look through it, trial the system, and then come back with their own points. But I think, Oliver, you made a good point there about the history of the GVFL. And I mean, we don't don't like to compare leagues and anything else, but you look at the Ovens and Murray League, and their premierships over the last 5 or 6 years has been very one-sided. Now, history shows in the GVFL, last time a 3 premiership was won was Seymour 05, 06, 07. So we really haven't had that sort of one-sided thing. What I will say from my point of view is, though, I just think salary capping is too hard in this league. I don't think it can be. I don't think it can be policed well enough. We don't have a full chartered book of accountants at any club. And B, I think I've said this on the show before too, John. If we get a recruit at a club, and for an example, I'm a builder, there's ways around of getting a John Ryan at our football club by saying, John, I'll come and do a $30,000 extension on your house. Yeah. How can you police that?
You can't police
I just don't see how that can work.
I've got one for you two boys. Say the salary cap in the GVL, well, just using round figures, say it's 200,000, but the OAN jump up to 300,000. Do we all of a sudden then we lose our players? They'll go.
It has to be the same across the board.
Exactly.
It can't, because if the GVFL is lower than Ovens and Murray, where do you think everyone else is going to go? All the good players are going to be going Ovens and Murray, which has been happening in the past. But yeah, it's got to be even across the board. The major leagues have got to have a similar salary cap. The minor leagues, the district leagues, they've got to have a similar salary cap as well to prevent the other leagues dominating and taking all the players.
Yes. Oliver, just you're a sports journalist, you've been around for a while. What's your thoughts on it? Do you think we need it here?
No. As I said before, the history of the competition shows it's an even competition, so there's no way the GVFL needs the salary cap or the player point system. It's fine as it is. You look, we've gone over it, and it's just, it evens itself out. You see the teams at the bottom at the moment, they've been on top, and it just goes around in circles. So teams have their time at the top, and it works itself out. So the GVFL shouldn't have to give in to the other leagues who are struggling. So it's a really hard issue because they want to bring it in across the state, but why does the GVFL have to give in?
Well, Picola, they've already pulled out. I
was just about to say, you made a good point there, and with your contacts in sports journalism, and you just made a very good point there, that this is going to be something that the AFL want to bring in statewide. So we obviously talk about the GV Footy show because it is our show, and that's what we're here to do. But we saw on the news the other night that Picola and District Football League are staunchly against having to come in. What do you see that would do? I mean, it's either, to me, it's got to be everyone's on the same playing field, or it doesn't get introduced.
Yeah, exactly right. Picola, they've gone against. There was overwhelming support against. There was only 3 or 4 clubs that wanted it in out of. There's 2 divisions in the Picola League, so there's about 17 teams. So 3 out of 17 wanted it, and the rest said it's fine as it is. And that's a competition that's been more uneven than the GVFL. Definitely, Tungamar, they've gone on basically a winning streak since the middle of 2013. They've won premierships, and they look like they'll win a 3rd one in a row. So, yeah, if they don't want it, then why should the GVFL want it?
How much work, boys, will be involved if the point system comes in? How much work's going to be involved in the paperwork?
It's massive.
It's got to be huge. You've got to put someone else on. And you got to remember, these people are voluntary people. Now, after a while, you get sick of that sort of stuff. Then you've got blokes that are playing VFL, and then they're coming back to play GVL, and all this sort of stuff. It's a lot of headache. I think it's just not needed.
I think at club level, a lot of the work will be done in the first year or the first phase of the point system. This is what I'm led to believe. But that does create a lot of work for somebody to set up a database, go through all of your players, allocate the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 or 1 point, whatever it is. And that's okay. It will be, once you've got that database, you revisit it every year. But every year that Oliver Caffrey plays for Seymour Football Club, for example, they still have to go through every year and revisit that player and allocate him or deallocate a point, depending on the service. So, there is a lot of work, and it is a good point, John, for people who are voluntary within this league. It creates a lot of maybe unnecessarily undue work for clubs that, at the moment, there's a lot of pressure on people's shoulders just to sustain playing in the Golden Valley Footy League.
Yeah. Do you see any other negative parts of it, Oliver, at all? Things you can bring up about it?
Yeah, a lot of extra work for volunteers. The salary cap, I think the player point system, once there's a bit of a system put in place, they can go through and give the points out. That wouldn't be too bad. But the salary cap, that's going to be so much hard work for people that are just volunteers. They've got day-to-day jobs. They're doing that in their spare time. So, yeah, that's going to be a big issue, I think. And the integrity officers they plan to put in place to check the salary cap, how are they going to get around to 40 plus leagues in the state? It's just, you can't work like that.
No.
They say that it's going to work, but I just don't see. You'd have to have a few integrity officers every single league. So that's a lot of work for AFL Victoria, and those guys are going across the state. So
see, it's the same. We spoke about Benalla, and we're just using towns as an example. You know, we said Benalla 8,000 or 9,000. Well, when we come back to Shep now, and we've got 3 sides here. What's Shepparton? 25, 26,000. So you know, how do you calculate those points, bar people? You go to Mooroopna, what have they got? Probably 7,000 or 8,000 there. So you know, it's a very difficult thing, and the thing that would be frightening to me is the point system could split this league in half, big time, a lot more than what it is now, and that's why I believe it's just not needed whatsoever.
And you mentioned Benalla before. They're a great example of a team that's worked their way up. 3 years ago, they're on the bottom of the ladder.
Yep.
2 wins for the season. They were struggling. Next year, they get Luke Morgan in, a great coach, and they bring all these young players back to the club that have ties there, and look at them now, they're flying.
Oh yeah, and they'll be a side that would say, yeah, the point system will be terrific, and good luck to them because they have got their homegrown kids, and they'd be right under the limit with point systems. But the smaller clubs can't survive on it because they haven't got the number of kids coming through, and they can, you know, they're still going to have to get their players in. The smaller clubs, the Euroas, the Tats, the Mansfields and that, because the population is not there. And, you know, as we know now and we can see now, soccer is a big part of sport now, and a lot of kids are going to play that, so that takes your numbers down again.
Well, boys, let's hope for our league. It is such a Premier League of football, and John, you've been involved in footy for a long time, and Oliver as a sports journalist. Let's hope it doesn't get to the point where it does divide our league, because that would be catastrophic. We're not saying that's going to happen, but it's a hot topic. It's one that's been, I know it's been spoken about at club level and it's been debated about, and I'm sure it will continue to be spoken about.
Well, I mean, you know, we've got a great league. Why change it?
Exactly.
If it's not broken,
Exactly.
don't worry about it. Okay.
Well, you've heard it, boys. One of the best journos in the business, Oliver Caffrey, and yours truly, JR.
The point system, it's a long way from being worked out yet. Be interesting to get your thoughts on it. Don't be scared to send us in your mailbag, I guess, Guy, would be the best system for us to do it on.
That's what it's there for.
Your address is?
morsemailbag@gmail.com.
Okay, well, Johnny, thanks for tonight, mate, and thanks to Oliver Caffrey. A huge thanks to the Campbell family. Don't forget our little mate Ando. We hope you enjoyed your g'day, mate, and can't wait to see you at the footy. And special young man, surrounded by special people. A great club, the Swannies. Well done with your work there, and good luck for the rest of the season, Ando. I'm coming down to watch you play in the Magoos. To you, Guy, I'll see you next week, and well done today.